what led to you getting into a car without a license?
So, I just felt like I could drive. I could do it,
And that's when everything changed.
Yeah, that moment.
You ended up in the hospital.
Yeah.
And your friend was in a coma.
Yeah.
And another person was injured.
I still, even to this day now, have guilt that I put someone else in that situation. I saw his family in there every day crying. I'll never forgive myself for that.
Do you believe in redemption?
Yeah.
How does it feel to be alive, like really alive?
It feels great. I got blessed with a second chance at life, and I think I'm gonna live it the best way I know how.
Crash, consequences, and comeback. Jonah's story of redemption after a life-changing accident. What happens when one wrong decision nearly cost you your life and someone else's? In this powerful episode of Daring Different, we meet Jonah, a 19-year-old whose life took a devastating turn after a car accident that left him with a traumatic brain injury and his friend in a coma. From high school basketball dreams to hospital beds, courtroom fears, and unexpected healing, Jonah's journey is one of reckoning, resilience, and redemption. This one is for every teen who thinks they are invisible and every parent who prays they are not. Let's dive in. Welcome, Jonah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Are you ready for today?
Yeah.
So, I'm honored that you came today because I believe in your story. And obviously, I am privy to the story, right? And one thing I do know about your story is that of redemption. And the reason is you have not only turned your pain, but you've turned it into purpose. So today we'll be diving into that and teaching and letting people and creating awareness for the incredible work that you do within the community and with your story. Is that good?
Yeah, very fun.
No nervousness?
Well, just a little bit.
So, Jonah, let's start from the beginning of your story. What was your childhood like?
My childhood, I would say, is pretty good. Loving family, loving friends. It's just a little social butterfly, enjoying my life.
So, your background is quite diverse. Your father is South African colored and mom is English. So how did that shape your sense of identity?
Growing up, it wasn't too bad, everyone's younger. So like primary school, no one really sees color. And then getting a bit older, like the start of high school, there was the whole, colored Africans, other people, which is me, mixed, and then, the white, the Asians, the Indians, all that. So we weren't really like accepted, I guess. Everyone had their own kind of color group and they would just stick to it. It was kind of, I'd say, frowned upon to like mingle with an outside race, I guess. But then getting older, like now as the world's evolved, it's not that bad. Everyone just kind of accepts you for who you are. Like you run into some, people who don't, but for the most part, it's pretty good.
So how did you navigate the complexity with that during high school?
I kind of just let, life go as it did. Like there was some people in school, I remember I'd get called racial slurs, but I kind of just let them go, not pay attention to it. And eventually everyone's just accepting for the most part.
So contributing to the fact that your friend group was also quite diverse.
Yeah.
It had probably helped you feel
So since older, alone group. We're all from different backgrounds. So
that's good to know. Yeah. And you spoke about your parents divorcing towards 12 to 13 years.
Yeah,
I think.
From memory, 12 to 13, yeah.
How would you say that separation between your parents impacted you emotionally?
Um, it kind of it didn't so much impact me as it impacted my friendships because people like didn't really understand. Obviously, at that age, no one really gets, oh, you live in two houses. Like, that's weird. Why don't you all just live under one roof? So I got more judgment from other people. Um, for myself personally, it was just, it was just life. Like I said, we just let it keep going and see how it takes you. Obviously, it hurt a bit because those are your parents and all that, but you just gotta let it.
Did you have
Let
a
it unfold.
sense of did you have a sense or awareness that your life was had been different or had changed?
Um, I knew that most kids didn't have two houses. They didn't go see their mom for a week and then go see their dad for a week. I knew that people made that very clear to me that that wasn't normal. That's not the way it should be. I didn't really understand it. Like I said, I was young. But as I got older, I started to understand. And then,
And with that dynamic, tell us about your relationship with your dad and what has changed. The word has changed. What does it mean to you today?
my relationship with my dad has always been all right. It's not the best, not the worst. Like now, we don't really speak to each other. We just hear from each other now and again. But the relationship, like it's okay. It's never been terrible. It's not like he's a bad person.
Yeah.
But it's just not the way that I would expect a household to be.
So would you say because of the dynamics of your house or that really impacted the relationship that you could have had?
Yeah, I definitely think, if someone's around more, you're going to build a stronger, better, closer relationship with them. So, like, for example, if my parents stayed together and lived together in the same house, I'd see my dad every day. I'd see my mom every day. We'd have a stronger connection.
Mm. And did you think that was that the absence of that, did that play into any of your early choices when you were growing up as a teenager?
Not really. I would say no. The dynamic of having two houses and two separate living spaces didn't really change much. I was still the same Jonah. I was still the same person. I would still I'd leave my dad's house and go to my mom's house and be the exact same person. So it didn't change too much.
And as a teen, would you say you had anyone to talk to or just be open with, especially around your identity, around who you were as a young guy growing up, expectations, mentorship? Did you have anyone at that time to talk to and open up with?
I could always talk to my mom. My mom's been there for me since day one. She knows everything about my life. It's like she knows more than I do at times. So my mom was always someone I would talk to. She still is someone I talk to on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Every night I'll go talk to her and update her about my day and ask for her opinion on stuff that happened or ask for her help on stuff that's happening. But yeah, it's always been my mom.
Would it be safe to say your mom is bored?
Yeah, 100%. Love my mom.
You can't do nothing without mom. She's not spit out.
At my big age, I get her permission for everything. If I want to leave the house and go to shops, I call her. I say, Mom, I'm leaving. She says, all right, be safe.
That's really good to know. So I really want to get into your hobbies and your interests while you were growing up. From what you've just shared with us, it looks like you were very colorful. You were a very happy person. You were out there making friends, sociable.
Yeah.
So you had also taught me about your love for basketball.
Yeah.
So you're really into basketball and you had hopes of going pro. What did basketball mean to you as a teen?
Well, I didn't grow up playing basketball. I started playing rugby.
Oh,
That was just more of a social thing. And then obviously I got way too tall and way too skinny for that. I was going to snap in half. And then one of my friends at school actually said, oh, come play in our social league with us, like sub in for us. And then I think I was about 14 at the time.
yeah.
And so I went and subbed in and I found out that I really enjoyed it. I wasn't good at it, obviously. I had no experience, but I really enjoyed it. And then I took it up. So basketball was kind of it was kind of a distraction for me. If something bad was happening at home or like if I had problems with friends or teachers at school or whatever, I would take myself down to the basketball court with a ball and just play basketball for a few hours. I'd have some of my mates come and we'd train. So yeah, I really loved basketball.
So that's how you felt better in it.
Yeah, that's how I
Would you
improved
agree?
myself.
It was an outlet for you to have community, to have sense of belonging. Sport was like something in which you bonded with and you could
Yeah,
express
yeah.
yourself.
The
Right?
team as well was like a family, so we would tell each other everything and anything. There was really no boundaries. Like the change room before a basketball game, we'd just be telling each other stories about our week, or if we hadn't seen you for a while, about your month. If you had an injury, you'd update us about your injuries.
Also, it was more like a brotherhood.
Yeah, so it was more like a brotherhood, like a really close brotherhood. Yeah,
Do you miss that?
100%. Yeah, that was a great time of my life.
Are you still in touch with some of your teammates?
Yeah, I'm still in touch with some of my teammates.
And have some of them moved pro?
Yeah, a few of them have actually now, I don't know if they're there yet, but they are signed to colleges.
Oh,
I think they'll go in June of this year, I believe.
so when you watch that, does that make you some
Yeah.
pride? Have some pride in it?
Yeah, it's like, I used to play with him. I know him.
I know it.
Now he's on the big stage. I used to train with him.
That's cool. So, as a teenager, you were up there, you loved rugby, you were sporty, you were other, and I'm sure you were good looking too.
I don't know. You'd have to ask my nanny for that.
I'll have to ask some few people. We'll get there. Well, tell us, what kind of teenager were you before the accident? Be honest with me.
Like, I would say about a year leading up to the accident, so 16, 17, I wasn't really in the greatest place. I had a really bad, I wouldn't say bad because, you know, everyone's different. But I had a group of friends where we would all, me included, we would influence each other to do dumb stuff. We'd encourage each other to do stupid things. You know, we had our lives on the line. We were experimenting with drugs and alcohol. And yeah, it was just, I was in a place, I wasn't home much. I was always out doing something. I was always out with the same people doing, you know, anything that you could think of. So yeah, I definitely wasn't in the best place ever.
And how did alcohol and substance, how was that introduced to your world? How did you get into that world?
Honestly, I think one of my friends was like, "Oh, come to my house. My parents aren't here," and then I rocked up, obviously, because at a young age, parents not home just means freedom and it's exciting and it's cool. And then I rocked up and they were like, "Oh, the liquor cabinet's unlocked. Let's have a beer." Or I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what my first drink was, but along those lines, as a bottle or something. And then that's how it just came around.
So, looking back, what would you say you were trying to escape from? Or what would you say you were trying to silence with that lifestyle?
I was just trying to fit in. You know, everyone else was doing it. I was like, you know, I might as well do it. If they're alive, I'll live, you know. I didn't really have much education on that. Everyone's body's different. So I did see some friends take some drugs and they reacted differently to everyone else and they ended up in hospital. That was definitely an eye-opener for me, 100%. But I was just trying to fit in. I wasn't really trying to escape anything. Obviously, if there was problems at home, like I didn't want to be at home, I'd like, let's go have a drink or something. But yeah, I wasn't really trying to escape anything necessarily. I was just trying to fit in with the friend group.
Was there some sort of disconnect from home, you say?
I don't know if
That period of your life?
I don't know if it was a disconnect or it was just like, I just felt like, you know, I was growing up, I'm going to be an adult soon. I don't need to be home. I can do what I want type of thing. You know, laws don't apply to me. I'm invincible. Just the average teenage boy mindset.
And would you say at that time of your life, were you feeling as though the outside influence had more importance than the inner voice?
Yeah, 100%. The influence of everyone around me. Not my mum, who was great and was actually trying to talk some sense into me, like, you know, you shouldn't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. I would always listen to, you know, the bigger group of people outside of my house, my friends, my friends' friends, my friends' friends' friends, anyone who was around, whatever they said, I would just go with. wasn't really, didn't cross my mind that something bad could happen.
Let's talk about that day. Tell me, what led to you getting into a car without a license?
So that day, and I think about 2 weeks before that day, is actually gone from my memory. I can only recite to you what I have been told.
Yeah.
So this isn't my own memory, just to put that out. But so we had just started a new school, Cedar College. We had a induction day at Optus Stadium. And young boys, we don't want to be on public transport all the way to Optus Stadium from our houses. So we said, let's buy a car. So, obviously being 17-year-old boys that we were, we didn't have a lot of money. So we hopped on our phones, went on Facebook Marketplace, found the cheapest car we could find, messaged them and said, I'm coming to pick it up this afternoon. And that's exactly what I did, or what we did, I should say. We messaged him, he responded, we got the address, and after school that day, we went and picked up the car.
Okay.
What led to me driving without a license, I would say, I had always been given driving lessons from a very, very early age. I would say I was in year 7 when I first learned how to drive. So, I just felt like I could drive. I could do it, and I know how to drive. I can do it.
Would you say you felt confident to go on the road without a license?
Yeah, I would say, because leading up to that day, I had actually been driving a lot without a license. So yeah, I 100% felt confident. But I'd done it before,
So, yeah.
Again, the invincible mindset of nothing bad's gonna happen to me. It could never happen to me. I'm, a lucky one.
So, and walk us through the moment of the crash. I'm not sure if you can remember it, but I'm sure you can't. But what were you told? Can you walk us through that? What do you remember, or what were you told about that moment of the crash?
I don't remember it at all, to be completely honest. What I was told is, as we were driving, we were turning left off a roundabout. I turned off a little bit too late, so I took a really sharp turn to make it off the roundabout. And then we just heard a loud bang, and I lost control of the car. I've got no idea what that bang could be. And I lost control of the car, so we went up into the medium strip, and I tried to correct us and pull us back on the road. Obviously, being an inexperienced driver, I overcorrected, and we went through the road up on the other side into the poultry.
And that's when everything changed.
Yeah, that moment.
You ended up in the hospital.
Yeah.
And your friend was in a coma.
Yeah.
And another person was injured. How many of you were in the car?
There was 3 of us in the car, so me and 2 passengers.
Yeah.
One passenger did break his knuckle punching the window to get out of the car. As far as later injuries, I'm not 100% sure. He did have some spinal cord problems, but that wasn't confirmed if it was because of the crash or not. And then the backseat passenger sitting behind me was in a coma with me and suffers a brain injury as well.
So both of you later on diagnosed with traumatic
brain injuries,
traumatic brain
TBIs.
injury.
Yeah.
And both of you had ample time being in the coma, in the hospital.
Yeah.
How long were you in the coma for?
We were in the coma for about 3 weeks before waking up, and in hospital for about 4.5 months, 4 months.
So those first moments, those first days of you waking up, if you could remember, what were they like?
From what I've been told, I was just scared. I had no memory at all, so every 0.5 seconds my memory would reset. Obviously with the tube in my throat and not being able to move, I mostly just laid there and cried for 24/7. If I wasn't asleep, I was awake and crying, or I would be pulling at the nasal gastric tube because it was uncomfortable. But from what I was told, I was just scared. I had no idea why I was there. Mum kept explaining it to me. She was like, "You're in a serious car crash." I had no idea who was in the car. A couple weeks on, I had a whiteboard and I was writing down names of people who I thought were in the car. None of them were right, but obviously I kept forgetting that I was wrong. So I kept writing down, how is this person? And Mum would be, "Oh, they went in the car with you."
So describe your injuries, what you sustained because of that injury, of that accident. What were the injuries like?
I obviously got a traumatic brain injury. Mine came with short-term memory loss, which is obviously a lot better now. I have a pretty good memory. Now, I'd say I'm like an average teenager. And then moving down, I fractured my neck, my shoulder, my back, 2 ribs, punctured both my lungs and had them drained. Waking up from the coma, I had total paralysis in the right side of my body. So the right side of my body, I was not able to move at all. Later on, obviously, I did get that back, which I'm so thankful for.
So, weeks in the coma, about 5 months roughly in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your mom was by your side every day,
Every day.
every single day.
Yeah.
What did those early days of recovery demand, not only from you, from your mom, mentally, emotionally, financially, and physically?
The first couple days or the first few weeks, it didn't really demand much on me. Obviously, I was still paralyzed on one side of my body. You know, I obviously couldn't get out of the bed. So I had, a tube where I would pee into. I was wearing a nappy. I would get hoisted out of bed, put on a wheelchair, and one of the nurses or doctors would shower me, come back and hoist it back into bed. So mentally, it was really just depressing, as a 17-year-old, basically adult male. I felt like I should be able to do everything, normally. So again, that just wasn't it for me. I didn't enjoy, having someone else move me wasn't something that I liked having done.
Yeah, the weight of you losing your
independence. Losing my independence, that's a good way to put it. And then for mom, obviously, a lot of stress. She'd leave the house at 6 a.m. to get to the hospital for 7:30 for when visiting hours opened, that morning traffic.
And she did have to leave work as well.
Yeah, she was very lucky. Work allowed her to have the 5 months off. And people from the community would drop off frozen meals at our house. So she wouldn't have to cook, because I do have 3 younger sisters. So she wouldn't have to cook for them, everything. So yeah, it was definitely a lot of stress, a lot of sadness for my mum, not knowing whether I was going to come in or out, whatever I was going through at that time.
Did at any point in time in that experience, did you feel like giving up?
Yeah, every single day. Every single day for that entire experience. Until, I would say, the last month. The last month, I felt like I was getting a lot more independent. I was doing a lot more things by myself. I got cleared to shower by myself. I was allowed to do stuff by myself. But 100%, the first 3 months, every day, I felt like giving up.
Because you in your case, you had to relearn everything. It was like you were a baby again.
Yeah.
You had to relearn to eat. You had to relearn to talk.
Yeah.
To write, to walk. That must be unimaginable for many. So, but you kept going. So what do I know? What kept you going at that period of time through recovery?
Just seeing my mum put in the time and effort that she put in to come in and visit me and see me every day. In my mind, she had faith in me, so I had to have faith in myself, because if I didn't believe in myself, it's not going to happen. A big part of recovery is believing in yourself. It's not going to happen unless you want it to happen.
So you had hope of having your life back?
Yeah, I prayed every day that I wouldn't have someone doing everything for me. I didn't want someone to shower me. I didn't want anyone to take me to the bathroom. That wasn't my life. That's not what I
That's
wanted.
not what you had envisioned for yourself. So you had to push through. Through that.
I had to believe in myself 100%.
And let's talk about your friend in a coma.
Yeah.
You did share about the guilt of you putting your friend in danger. What I want to know is, how did you cope with the fear of what could have happened and the thought that you might have been tried in court or had dire circumstances or consequences to what happened?
Being in hospital for that long with someone, we actually begged the nurses to be in the same hospital room. So we built up a really good connection. I still, even to this day, now have guilt that I put someone else in that situation. I saw his family in there every day crying. That's not something I wanted ever had envisioned that I would have put someone else and their family through. But, just building a connection with him more than what we already had was really good. It helped me. I think just, knowing that you're friends with someone and that at the end of the day, if he wanted to send me to jail, that's on him. He could have done that 100%. I wouldn't be mad. But it's just knowing that you have a good connection with someone that really, helped me.
Yeah, that's really good to know. Would you say that would have been your lowest point emotionally? Would that be considered your lowest point
Yeah.
in your life during that period?
Yeah. So far in my life, I would consider that my lowest point.
And when I was talking to you, the interesting part that you did mention when I was talking to you the other time was you said you weren't a nice person before your accident. Do you think your accident, the crash, changed who you were at a soul level?
Yeah. I definitely think, the people I was surrounding myself with were not good influences. I expected to wake up. I thought they would all come running to the hospital, but to me, not a single one of them came. And then I figured out who my real friends were. And ever since then, I've surrounded myself with them, and they've really brought me up as a person. Through rehab, always, they would call my mom, say, give Jonah the phone, I want to speak to him. They'd wish me like a good, speedy recovery. So they definitely built me up as a person. And
So you say that was a wake-up call?
yeah.
Yeah.
My really close friends were planning what they'd do if I, didn't wake up. They actually showed me a portrait they made of a tattoo they would get for me. They had all these plans of stuff they would do to commemorate my life. So, just having good friends is really important, in my opinion.
Did they still plan that now that you're alive?
No, if I mean more. But
What happened to the t-shirts?
I pray there was never a plan to have t-shirts. That's not how I want to be remembered.
We would not want that, but you hear.
Yeah.
So I want to know about your mental state prior and post the accident. How is your mental health and your mental state involved?
Prior to the crash, I was just living life recklessly. And I wouldn't say that I was like depressed, but I was kind of searching for like a purpose to be here, something that makes me me. And then after the crash, I don't know, it kind of just like flipped a switch in me that was like, yeah, you need to grow up. You need to take life seriously, become a better person, have better friendships, relationships with your family, all that. I'm not sure why or how it happened exactly, but something throughout that time just changed me.
And one of the things that changed was the relationship that you had with Mum.
Yeah.
Yes. The two of you have become, how can I say, the yin and the yang.
Yeah, we've become closer. We are best friends.
Yeah. So can you elaborate more on the bond you share with Mum?
I could talk about this woman for hours.
Yeah. And what it looks
we'll
like
be here. We'll be here till next week. But
Carry us on.
Mom's my best friend. Like I said, at my old age, I still ask for her permission for everything. I talk to her every night. 9:30 comes around, she's ready for bed. I'm not. I go lay with her or sit with her wherever she's at in the house, and I tell her about my day. I ask for her advice, ask for her opinion. She tells me about work. I tell her about work. We've got a great relationship now.
And did this bring you closer to your siblings as well?
Me and my siblings were always pretty close.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And during this time, being estranged with Dad, did this create an opportunity for any bonding or any closeness? Just as
He came to
case with Mum?
he came to hospital a few times. He definitely wasn't there every day, all day like Mum was, but he did come, and we shared some quality time together. There was definitely time spent together. He made an effort.
If someone were to ask you, have you forgiven yourself for what you say?
No.
Why is that?
My actions were wrong. I shouldn't have been doing what I was doing. And I also put someone else and their family through a very hard, traumatic time. So I'll never forgive myself for that. That's not something that I require forgiveness for. I'll always live with that.
Do you believe in redemption?
Yeah.
Do you think you are in the path of redemption?
Yeah.
You being a part of redemption, at what point in time did you realize your story had purpose?
The first time was someone recognized me in a shopping center, and they were with their son and daughter, and they came to me and said, "Hey, are you that Jonah guy?" I said, "No, I'm not that Jonah guy. I'm just Jonah, but yeah, I am." And they said, "Ooh, we heard about you through, some other people, community, Facebook, whatever it was. My kids just got their licenses. Do you mind talking to them about it?" And I remember I was telling them about it, and I watched their faces, like their facial expressions change and their jaws drop. That was the time when I fully came to realize that what I had been through, I can use to educate other people. Because like I said and what they said to me, they felt like that would never happen to them. I felt like that could never happen to me. And yeah, so I talked to them about it, and yeah, they've promised me and their parents that they would drive safely and be careful and not get distracted by their friends or drink and drive or, do anything illegal in the car.
Have you gotten used to the celebrity life yet?
I definitely would not say I'm a celebrity. I don't have to walk around with bodyguards. I have paparazzi everywhere I go.
Well, but at least people see you and know you from the TV.
I don't know if that's something I want to be known for,
Yeah.
but I definitely want to use the fact that I am known for it to educate.
That's amazing work. And in highlight of that, you do such a good work with the youth and the teens. You continue to stick to schools and the youth about safe driving. Why did you choose to share your story?
So I'm now a training teacher at a high school.
That's right.
One of my colleagues actually said to me, because they do safe driving in year 10s, when they get their learner's permit, they do the Keys for Life program. So she actually came to me and said, we have these older people, who can come in and talk to the kids, but you've built a relationship with the kids, they know you, but they don't know what happened to you. She said it would be really powerful for them to hear it from someone close to their age, and they have a close-ish relationship with. So then I went and I spoke to the first class about it, and through their reactions, I suppose I kind of thought that, okay, maybe this is something I should be doing, because they're really taking an interest, they're engaging, they're asking me lots of questions.
Yeah.
And so I just decided that I would take it a step further and start, talking to people and helping.
I know in any situation, it's never easy being on the front line, and acting in purpose, especially when it has to do with something very personal. You become very vulnerable. And so in that vulnerability, not everyone will be receptive of it. So can you let us know about the darnest things when it comes to educating, awareness with your story? What is the strangest or the most challenging question you've ever been
The most challenging question I've ever been asked, one of my students actually put their hand up to ask a question, and I called on them and they just said, why? They didn't say, why were you in the car? Why were you driving without a license? They just said, why? And it made me think, why? Every possible scenario from that day. Why was I in a car? Why was I driving without a license? Why? It was definitely probably the hardest thing I've ever had to answer, because I didn't know specifically why they were asking, but it also made me think to myself, that entire day, the weeks leading up to it, my life before it, just why?
And how, with that question, how do you balance being honest with still carrying so much burden of what happened?
I just like to, say how it is, speak how it is. That's you know, that's how everyone's gonna learn from your mistakes, is just being completely and totally honest. The classes I was teaching, they 100% know if I need a break, I'm gonna take one. I'll step out of the class, have some air, have some water, and then go back. Because sometimes it is a lot to talk about.
And what do you have to say to people who come up to you and are not receptive of what you want to do, that are coming off from the aspect of being judging or being judgmental or asking, why are you free? Why are you not in jail? Why are you here?
My only answer for them is that, you know, I don't know why I'm not in jail. What the judge's decision was on him. But I'm not trying to use my experience for, you know, fame, for the wrong reasons. I just want to educate, you know, as many people as I can, get in as many places as I can, talk to as many young people as I can. Because I was young not that long ago. I still am young. But those decisions, like even in classes that I teach in, and kids like, oh, well, that's not going to happen to me. I said, yeah, I used to say the same thing. So a lot of people have the same mindset that I had, and I want them to change it.
They have that invincible mindset.
Yeah, they have that mindset. Yeah, I'm young. It was never going to happen to me.
Never gonna get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is the one thing you want every young person who comes in contact with you, your story, this episode, listening to you right now, about choices and consequences?
I just want them to know that every choice that they have a consequence, whether it's good or bad. You know, buying your mom flowers, that's going to have a good consequence. She's going to give you a big hug. But obviously doing the wrong things, they're going to have bad consequences. You might get away with it once or twice or 3 times. You might even get away with it for a few years. But at the end of the day, at some point, you're going to have a negative outcome. It's not going to be, you know, it's not going to stay the way you want it forever.
And what do you love the most about connecting with young people now?
I love their questions. They're funny. You know, because young kids aren't that serious. Obviously it's a serious topic and they switch and they have a serious persona, but they're always gonna have like silly questions. Like one kid I taught a class last week put his hand up completely out of the blue, out of nowhere. He said, sir, where are you from? And it just made me giggle because it's completely irrelevant to what I'm talking about. But I'm going to answer you anyway because it's a question. But yeah, it was just, they just come up with funny stuff. Yeah.
Oh, and well, your story is not all about sobbiness, and there's some excitement to it. And you've got a girlfriend now.
Yeah.
The last time I spoke to you wasn't official. So you're doing event management, you're doing virtual lab, you're teaching in schools, you're connecting to the young people, you're using your story, you turn it into purpose, and now Sherry on the top, you've got a girlfriend, and she's cute, by the way. I'll tell you. Trust me, I would. Anyways, but let's skip that one today. So what I want to know is, with all these exciting things happening for you right now, how does it feel to be alive, like really alive?
It feels great. I got blessed with a second chance at life, and I think I'm going to live it the best way I know how. You know, obviously being careful of my injuries, staying safe, but I'm not going to wrap myself in bubble wrap and say, I can't do this. I'm going to take a chance at everything and, you know, try to live my life the best that I can because it almost ended.
What excites you about your future now?
The most exciting thing about my future is traveling. Oh. I cannot wait to travel. I love traveling. I love getting on a plane. If there was a plane that had no destination, you just got on it and it would fly you somewhere in the world, I would do it. I just love to be, you know, out of.
Yeah. And you know you're South African, so if I was part of your family or your auntie, I'll be looking at Katie. I'll be like, hi, when is it? When is it happening? You know? I think I'll be too soon, hey? Are you thinking about that?
No.
Oh, well, you never know. In the African context, you know. So, what does healing mean to you today?
The healing to me today is just taking life every day as it comes. Every day's a new day. You know, like if it didn't work yesterday, you can try again today. You know.
Then and I want to also know, like, obviously you sustained a brain injury and a traumatic brain injury. Tell us, what are the barriers that have come with that or that came with that? And how are you navigating through that? Because there are a lot of people, you know, when going through anything traumatic, there's that limitation and barriers that they face. And with you, you found a way to navigate through whatever was thrown at you. So for those who don't know what it feels like leaving or being diagnosed with someone in your condition, in your perspective, what are these barriers that you face and how do you navigate through them?
Well, for me, my impact of the brain injury was short-term memory.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously back then I remembered absolutely nothing. Now I remember a lot more. So coming out of hospital, learning was pretty difficult. You know, going back into school and having to remember everything that was happening for the next day, that was challenging. But I came up with a pretty good system, you know, just take notes or write stuff down in the calendar. I always have my phone on me. So I have a calendar on my phone that has all the dates and everything we're doing. So
Do you take extra precautions now when you're doing anything? Does it make you very cautious? Does it make you think before, you know, what is it like for you now?
most of the time, yeah. Like obviously things I can't do, like don't go skydiving. You know, I try to avoid roller coasters, but do it at your own risk. So I don't walk around in bubble wrap. Like I said, I'm going to live my life.
Gonna live your life.
But there's always in the back of my mind, oh, is this safe to be doing? You know, so I tend to, you know, do stuff that I know will be safe and that I still enjoy.
So you operate on the safety, still yet enjoying the quality of life.
Yeah.
You know, and also making sure you don't take any hit to the head.
Yeah, no hits to the head. Yeah.
That will be good.
Yeah.
So I'll say, that will give me power, some sort of power dynamic over you. So I could run up and just, you know.
How are you going to run? How are you running up on me?
I will roll up for you.
I will walk upstairs.
You walk upstairs. I'll wait for you to come back. You're not going to stay upstairs forever, are you?
If I can. I could.
We will both get tired. So if you could go back to the 15-year-old Jonah and whisper something in his ear right now, what would that be?
15-year-old Jonah in his ear. I would tell him to choose a different path. I would say, you know, change your friends, change who you surround yourself with, change the way you live in your life. Be better. Do better.
Yeah. I can see you're just glowing. You're smiling.
I got a light on me, that's why.
No, this one is within. Within. So, would you say, like, closing up your relationship, what does it mean to you right now? What the space you are in with the love that you found from your girlfriend? If he blushing. Okay.
She's just, you know.
But I was gonna say you're sold.
Oh, what's up?
So
Just supportive, you know, it's great. I feel someone to talk to, you know, whenever I need it.
the friendship.
Yeah, we're like best friends. That's just something I overtake my mom. My mom's my all-time best friend, but you know, it's just nice to have someone to share stuff with.
Yeah, someone that makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
So, what should we look out for when it comes to Jonah right now? Is there anything you want us to know? Obviously, your socials I'm gonna release his socials so you guys can follow more with his nightlife and his everyday life. But yes, what should we look out for?
What should you look out for? Oh, that's a loaded question. That might be the hardest one to answer from this whole thing. I don't know what you should watch out for.
So if we come to your social media, what was it? Are we seeing you on a hike and traveling with
You'll never
pride?
see me
Oh,
you'll never see me on a hike.
oh, okay.
I'm going to Bali in a few weeks, so
So
you'll see it by then in a few weeks. Yeah, traveling.
Yeah. Doing more workshops and awareness, creating awareness.
I'll
of
be
safe
doing more
driving.
of this. Yeah. I'll fully build a page for safe driving specifically.
Yeah. Having a campaign for that.
Yeah, you see events that I do.
Okay.
So if you're over 18, come to them. I'll be there.
Over 18.
Oh,
Is that-
18 plus. 18, 19, 20, 20.
No fake IDs, guys. We're going to scan them. So over 18,
Yeah.
please let them know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Yes.
Please be over 18.
And safe driving too when you're coming to the events.
Yeah, if you're drinking, don't drive.
Yes, very important.
Take an Uber, take the trains.
Oh, Jonah, thank you for being so vulnerable and honest. Your story is a warning for sure. Yes, we know that. But more than that, it is a beacon of hope and change. You know, to our listeners, if you are a teenager thinking it would not happen to you, think again. And if you are a parent, share this episode with your child, because when one life changes, it can save another. So amazing work. I always say we're proud of you and we're happy to have you alive, because when you leave, we can have good things, good tidings with Catherine. You know, I put her name out there. There's so many of them. Don't go looking for her now. So, so yes, thank you for gracing us with the platform.
That's all right.
Yes. And on that note, please, if you have not followed us, follow us on our social media and follow us on our website, and we will have more information about safe driving and more on what our guest is doing. Please do not drink and drive. Learn from the hero and the champion himself. Catch you on that note. Bye-bye.